The auctioneer was selling my wife's china when I got back from the grocery store, standing in my own driveway, holding up the blue and white plates Linda had collected for 40 years. Magnificent set, folks. Royal Copenhagen. Do I hear 50? I stood there, paper bags in both arms, watching strangers bid on my life. Before we continue, please subscribe to the channel and write in the comments what time it is where you are now. The auctioneer saw me, smiled, kept talking. 55 from the gentleman in the Cardinals cap. Do I hear 60? My daughter-in-law Rachel stood beside him, clipboard in hand. She waved at me. Actually waved, like I'd just arrived at a neighborhood barbecue. I set the groceries down on the hood of my truck, walked up my own driveway toward my own front porch where a stranger was selling my dead wife's dishes. Excuse me. My voice came out steady. That surprised me. What the hell is going on here? Rachel's smile didn't budge. Oh, Dad, perfect timing. We're just getting started. Started with what? The estate sale, remember? We talked about this. She touched my arm, gentle, concerned. You said you wanted to downsize. I stared at her. I never said that. Dad, patient now, speaking a little slower, a little louder. We had a whole conversation about it. Last week, you said the house was too big, that you couldn't keep up with it anymore. I said it needed a new water heater. Right. And we talked about how all these repairs were adding up. How it might be time to think about something smaller, more manageable. She gestured at the crowd in my yard, about 30 people, picking through boxes of my belongings. So I arranged this, to help you. The auctioneer sold Linda's china for $65, to a woman in a sun hat who looked thrilled. You had no right. Dad, you're confused. Let's go inside and talk about this. She tried to guide me toward the door, her hand on my elbow, steering me like I was a child who'd wandered into traffic. I pulled away. I'm not confused. I didn't agree to this. You absolutely did. Daniel was there. He heard you. She turned, raised her voice. Daniel, can you come here a minute? My son appeared from inside the house. My house. Carrying a box full of my tools. My father's tools. The ones I'd inherited when he died in 1987. Daniel, tell Dad what we discussed about the estate sale. Daniel set the box down, wouldn't look at me. You said the house was too much, Dad, that you were thinking about moving into something smaller. I said no such thing. You did, last Tuesday, at dinner. We haven't had dinner together in 3 months. Silence. Brief. Then Rachel jumped in. You're thinking of a different week, Dad. It was definitely last Tuesday. You came over. I made pot roast. She smiled. Warm, convincing. You even said it was the best pot roast you'd had in years. I don't eat pot roast. Haven't since the heart attack in 2019, but she said it with such confidence, such specific detail. For a second, just a second, I wondered if I'd forgotten. Then I saw the man walking out of my house, carrying Linda's jewelry box. The rage was building now, hot and focused. I could feel it in my chest, the way my vision seemed to sharpen. Stop! I didn't yell. Didn't have to. My voice carried. Nobody touches anything else. The crowd went quiet. The auctioneer looked at Rachel. She gave him a small shake of her head. He smiled at the crowd. Folks, let's take a quick 5-minute break. Help yourselves to refreshments. He gestured to a table I hadn't noticed. Lemonade and cookies. In my yard. Like this was a church social. Rachel pulled me aside. Away from the crowd. Her voice dropped. Lost the patient sweetness. Dad, don't do this. Don't make a scene. You're selling my belongings without permission. We have permission. You agreed to this. If you don't remember, that's concerning. Maybe we need to talk about, she paused. Meaningful. About whether you should be living alone. There it was, the threat underneath the smile. I remember perfectly well. I never agreed to any of this. Daniel heard you. I heard you. If you're saying you don't remember a conversation from last week, that's a memory issue, Dad. That's something we need to address. She had it all worked out. Either I agreed I'd authorize this theft, or I was incompetent. Either way, she won. I want everyone off my property, now. We have a contract with the auction company. If we cancel now, we still owe them the full fee, $1,500. Plus, we've advertised this sale for 2 weeks. People drove here from 3 counties. She shook her head, sad, regretful. If you cancel now, you're liable for damages. The auction company could sue. I looked at the auctioneer. He was eating a cookie, drinking lemonade from a plastic cup on my lawn. Let me see this contract. It's inside. I'll get it. Rachel headed for the house. Daniel stayed with me. Still wouldn't meet my eyes. You know I never agreed to this. Dad, look at me. He did. Finally. My son, 42 years old. I'd taught him to ride a bike on this driveway, right where strangers were now pawing through boxes of his mother's clothes. Did we have dinner last Tuesday? Rachel says, did you see me at your house last Tuesday? Yes or no? His jaw tightened. You're making this harder than it needs to be. Yes or no, Daniel? We're trying to help you. That wasn't an answer. That was a confession. Rachel came back out, handed me a piece of paper. I scanned it. Standard estate sale contract. Signed at the bottom. The signature looked like mine. Almost. The H was wrong. I've signed my name 73 years. I know how I write my H. This one was too round, too careful. I didn't sign this. Dad, that's your signature. The hell it is. If you're saying you don't remember signing it, again, that's concerning. I'm saying this is a forgery. Rachel's expression changed, harder. That's a serious accusation. You forged my signature. You invented a conversation that never happened, and you're stealing my property. I kept my voice level, calm. But people were listening now. The crowd had gone quiet, pretending not to watch while absolutely watching. Okay, Rachel's voice shifted, louder, performing now, for the audience. Dad, I think you need to go inside and rest. You're clearly confused. Daniel, help him inside. I'm not confused. I'm calling the police. To tell them what? That you authorized an estate sale and now you're having regrets? They'll take one look at this signed contract and to report theft and forgery. Rachel laughed. Actually laughed. Dad, be reasonable. How would this look? A man your age, claiming his own family forged his signature? Claiming he doesn't remember conversations from last week? The police are going to see an elderly man who needs help managing his affairs. She had thought this through. Every angle. I'd look like a confused old man. She'd look like a concerned daughter-in-law trying to help. Everyone off my property, I said again. Or I call the police and we sort this out right now. Rachel's smile went thin, sharp. Fine, Daniel, get in the truck. My son followed her. Didn't argue. Didn't look back. They climbed into Daniel's pickup. The auctioneer started packing up his podium. The crowd began to disperse. Some of them looked disappointed. Others looked uncomfortable, like they just realized they were participating in something wrong. One older woman approached me. Sir, I bought those plates, the blue and white ones. I gave them $65. Keep them, I said. Too tired to fight. They're yours. She hesitated. Then she reached into her purse and pulled out 3 20s and a 5. Pressed them into my hand. I'm sorry. I didn't know. She left. The crowd left. The auctioneer left. I stood in my driveway, surrounded by boxes of my own belongings scattered across the lawn, like a yard sale in hell. Inside, the house was worse. They'd gone through everything. Closets open. Drawers emptied. Linda's jewelry box sitting on the kitchen counter. Open. Half the contents gone. The box itself was there. The necklace I'd given her for our 30th anniversary? Gone. I sat at the kitchen table. The oak one I'd built in 1981. Same table where we'd celebrated Daniel's high school graduation. Where Linda and I had eaten breakfast together for 43 years. The coffee maker was gone. They'd taken the coffee maker. I counted what was missing. Not everything. That would have been too obvious. They'd been selective. Jewelry. Tools. Linda's good china. The set that sold for $65 goddamn dollars. The antique clock from the living room. My father's pocket watch. Small things. Valuable things. Things they could claim I'd agreed to sell. I called the police. The officer who showed up was young, maybe 30. He took notes while I explained. Nodded. Looked sympathetic. Then he asked to see the contract. I showed him. Pointed out the signature. That's not how I write my H. That's a forgery. He studied it. Sir, I'm not a handwriting expert. This looks pretty close to me. It's not my signature. Would you be willing to file a formal complaint? We can investigate. But I have to tell you, family disputes like this are complicated, especially when there's a signed contract. A forged contract. That would have to be proven. You'd probably need a lawyer. Handwriting analysis. It could take months. He paused. Uncomfortable. And sir, if I can be honest, the fact that you're claiming you don't remember conversations from last week, that doesn't help your case? I never had those conversations. They're lying. That's a strong accusation against your own son. My son stood in this driveway and let his wife steal from me. The officer closed his notebook. I can file a report. But without clear evidence of theft, and with this contract, I don't think this goes anywhere. My advice? Talk to a lawyer. See what your options are. He left. I sat in my kitchen. Coffee maker gone. My father's pocket watch gone. Linda's anniversary necklace gone. My phone rang. Rachel. Dad, I'm sorry it ended like that. I was only trying to help. By stealing from me. We weren't stealing. We were helping you downsize. You agreed to this. If you don't remember, that's exactly why we're concerned about you living alone. Stop pretending I authorized this. Dad, you did. You're just confused, and I get it. Memory issues are scary. But this is exactly why you need family involved. To help you make good decisions. Her voice softened. Fake sympathy. We should talk about getting you evaluated, just to make sure you're safe. I'm perfectly safe. What I'm not is stupid enough to let you gaslight me. Silence. Then her voice changed again. Colder. Gaslighting. That's a strong word. Makes it sound like you think we're the bad guys here. You forged my signature and sold my belongings. We helped you liquidate assets you agreed to sell. There's a signed contract. There are witnesses who saw you agree to this. If you claim otherwise, you're either lying or you're incompetent. Either way, Dad, this doesn't look good for you. She hung up. I sat there, hands shaking now. Not from fear, from rage. Linda's jewelry box sat on the counter, open, violated. I'd met Linda at a church picnic in 1963. She was wearing a yellow dress. She laughed at my jokes even though they weren't funny. We got married 8 months later. Had Daniel 2 years after that. Built this house in 1978. Refinished the floors together. Painted every room. Planted the oak tree in the backyard that was now 30 feet tall. She died in our bedroom, holding my hand. Cancer. 3 years ago, last April, I'd given everything to this family. The house Daniel grew up in. The college tuition I paid. The down payment on his first car. The loan for his wedding that never got paid back. $23,000. I'd stopped asking about it after the first year. The business loan. $18,000. Daniel wanted to start a landscaping company. Bought equipment. Bought a truck. The business folded after 7 months. Never saw a dime of that money back either. The monthly help. $200 here, $500 there. Just until we get caught up, Dad. That started 4 years ago. Never stopped, and I opened my banking app. Scrolled back through the transfers. March, $400. February, $650. January, $300. December, $800 for Christmas gifts for the grandkids. November, $275 for Thanksgiving groceries. I kept scrolling. Months became years. The numbers blurred together. $4,200 in the last 12 months alone. Not counting the big loans. Not counting the down payment on Daniel's truck when his credit wouldn't qualify him. Another $8,000. Also never paid back. I added it up. Calculator open on my phone. Years of transfers and loans and emergencies. $67,400, $67,400 in 6 years, and now they were stealing what was left. My phone buzzed. Text message. Daniel. Dad, Rachel's really upset. She was trying to help. You embarrassed her in front of all those people. I stared at the text. No apology. No acknowledgement of what they'd done. Just concern for Rachel's feelings. I typed back, "She forged my signature and stole from me." 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. "She says you agreed to it. If you don't remember, maybe we need to talk about memory care options." There it was again, the threat. "Agree we didn't steal from you, or we'll have you declared incompetent." I remember perfectly well. I never agreed to any sale. The dots appeared. Stayed for a long time. Finally, "Whatever, Dad. I'm not doing this right now." He didn't text again. I walked through the house. Inventory of what was missing. They'd been smart. Hadn't taken furniture. That would have been too obvious. Just small valuables. Things that could fit in boxes. Things they could claim I'd agreed to liquidate. The antique clock. Wedding gift from Linda's parents. Gone. The tools, my father's, given to me when he died. Gone. The silver candlesticks, Linda's grandmother's. Gone. The pocket watch, engraved with my father's initials. Gone. The jewelry, most of Linda's collection. Gone. I went to the basement, pulled out the file cabinet where I kept important papers. Birth certificates, marriage license, the deed to the house, Linda's death certificate. Everything still there. They hadn't touched the legal documents. Didn't need to. They weren't trying to steal the house. Not yet. Just everything in it. I found the folder labeled Daniel, Loans. Pulled it out. Every check I'd written him. Every bank transfer. Printed confirmations going back 6 years. I'd kept them all. Not because I was planning to demand repayment. Just habit. I kept records. $67,400 in transfers and loans. $0 paid back. I thought about the pot roast Rachel claimed she'd made me. The dinner conversation that never happened. The signature on the contract that wasn't mine. They'd planned this. Invented a story. Forged a document. Executed the whole thing while I was at the grocery store buying milk and bread. I'd been gone 90 minutes. My phone rang. Unknown number. I answered. "Mr. Sullivan, this is Gordon Mitchell from Mitchell Estate Sales. I'm calling about the sale at your residence today." The auctioneer. "What about it?" "Well, sir, there seems to be some confusion. Your daughter-in-law informed me that you'd authorized the sale. Signed the contract. But based on your reaction today, I'm wondering if that's accurate." "It's not. I never signed anything, never authorized any sale." Silence. Then, "I was afraid of that. Sir, I've been in this business 30 years. I know what a family dispute looks like versus a genuine misunderstanding. This felt wrong from the start." "Then why did you go through with it?" "Because I had a signed contract and a family member assuring me everything was legitimate. But I want you to know, I didn't process any payments, didn't complete any sales except that china set. Everything else is still in my truck." I sat up straighter. "Everything?" "Yes, sir. The tools, the jewelry, the clock, all of it. Your daughter-in-law is going to be very unhappy with me, but I'm not about to be party to theft." He paused. "I'll need you to come to my office. Identify your belongings. Sign a statement that you didn't authorize the sale. Then you can take it all home." "When?" "I'm here until 6 tonight. 431 Commerce Street, Mitchell Estate Sales, Big Blue Building." "I'll be there in 20 minutes. I grabbed my keys, drove to his office. Gordon Mitchell was older than he'd looked from a distance, maybe 70. Weathered face, tired eyes. He led me to a back room filled with boxes. "This is all from your house. I separated it when we packed up." I went through it, box by box, the jewelry, the tools, the clock, the candlesticks, the pocket watch, everything except the china set already sold. "I need you to sign this statement," Gordon said. Says you didn't authorize the sale, releases me from liability, confirms I returned your property. I signed. Real signature this time, with my properly shaped H. Mr. Sullivan, if I can offer some advice, get a lawyer. What your daughter-in-law did today, forging your signature, inventing authorization, that's criminal fraud. You have grounds for prosecution. She'll say I'm confused, that I did authorize it and forgot. Not with my testimony, she won't. I'll swear under oath that you showed up shocked, that you clearly had no knowledge of the sale, that when I questioned the situation, the facts didn't add up. He handed me a business card. Call me if you need a witness statement. I'll provide one. I loaded my belongings into my truck, drove home, carried everything back inside, put Linda's jewelry back in her box, hung the clock back on the wall, put the tools back in the basement, the pocket watch in my dresser drawer. Then I sat down at the kitchen table and thought about what came next. Rachel had showed me exactly who she was. Daniel had stood beside her and let it happen. $67,400 in loans and transfers, a forged signature, an attempted theft disguised as help, and a threat to have me declared incompetent if I fought back. I pulled out a legal pad, started making a list. First, lawyer, get the forgery documented. File criminal charges if possible. At minimum, get a restraining order. Second, bank. Cut off all access. Daniel wasn't on my accounts, but I wanted it documented in writing that no one had authorization to access my money. Third, will. Update it. Daniel was currently the primary beneficiary. That needed to change. Fourth, estate planning. Make sure Rachel couldn't touch anything if something happened to me. Set up protections. Legal walls she couldn't climb over. Fifth, evidence. Document everything. The forged contract. The missing items that Gordon Mitchell could testify about. The text messages. The attempts at gaslighting. My phone buzzed. Text from Rachel. Dad, I heard you picked up the items from the estate sale company. I'm disappointed. We went through a lot of effort to arrange that sale. It was for your own good. I didn't respond. Another text. We need to talk about this, about your memory issues, about what's best for you going forward. I blocked her number. Another text appeared. Daniel this time. Dad, Rachel says you picked up all the stuff from the sale. Seriously? After all the work she put into organizing that? This is ridiculous. I stared at the message. Not a word about forgery, not a word about theft, just irritation that their plan had failed. I typed back, your wife forged my signature and attempted to steal my property. I have a witness, an estate sale professional with 30 years of experience who will testify that I never authorized the sale. If either of you contact me again, I'm filing criminal charges. Send. 3 dots appeared. Disappeared. Appeared again. Disappeared. No response came. I sat at my kitchen table. The house quiet around me. Linda's jewelry box back in its place. The clock ticking on the wall. The pocket watch in my drawer. Monday morning, I called Thomas Bryant. Lawyer. I'd used him for the estate planning when Linda died. He remembered me. David, good to hear from you. What can I do for you? I explained. The whole story. The forged signature, the fake estate sale, the gaslighting, the threats about incompetency. Silence when I finished. Then, David, this is fraud, clear cut. If you want to press charges, you've got grounds. What are my options? Criminal charges. That's the nuclear option. Gets messy, takes time, might not result in conviction if they lawyer up and claim it was a misunderstanding. He paused. Or we go civil, restraining order, documented evidence of the fraud, letter to your son and daughter-in-law explaining that any further attempts to access your assets will result in prosecution. That usually scares people straight. What about protecting myself going forward? We update your estate planning, set up a trust, make sure Daniel can't access anything without going through proper legal channels. We document your mental competency. You'll need a cognitive evaluation from a doctor. We make it legally impossible for anyone to claim you're incompetent or take control of your affairs. How fast can we do this? I can have the restraining order filed by tomorrow. The trust paperwork will take about a week. The cognitive evaluation, I can get you an appointment with Dr. Patricia Chen this afternoon if you're available. She does competency evaluations for estate planning. Takes about 2 hours. You'll score fine, and then we have legal documentation that you're of sound mind. Do it. All of it. David, I have to ask, you're talking about completely cutting your son out of your estate. Are you sure? I thought about Daniel standing in my driveway, holding a box of my father's tools, letting his wife sell my dead wife's dishes for $65. I'm sure. The cognitive evaluation took place that afternoon. Dr. Patricia Chen was thorough. Memory tests, logic puzzles, questions about current events, math problems, spatial reasoning. She took her time. 2 hours later, she finished. Mr. Sullivan, you scored in the 94th percentile for your age group. Your memory is excellent. Your reasoning is sharp. You show no signs of cognitive decline. I'll have my full report ready by tomorrow morning, but I can tell you now, you're absolutely competent to manage your own affairs. I got the report in writing. Signed, dated, legally notarized. Thomas filed the restraining order on Tuesday. Temporary order granted immediately. Hearing scheduled for 2 weeks out. Wednesday morning, Rachel and Daniel received certified letters. Legal notification of the restraining order. Documented evidence of the forged contract. Gordon Mitchell's witness statement. Warning that any further contact or attempts to access my property would result in criminal prosecution. Thursday, my phone rang. Blocked number. I didn't answer. Friday. Someone knocked on my door. I looked through the window. Rachel, standing on my porch. I didn't open the door. She knocked again. Dad, I know you're in there. We need to talk. I called the police. Reported a restraining order violation. The officer arrived within 15 minutes. I watched through the window as he talked to Rachel. Saw her face go red. Saw her arguing. Pointing at my house. The officer remained calm, gestured to his car. She got in. He came to the door afterward. Mr. Sullivan, she's been warned. If she comes back, she'll be arrested for violating the restraining order. Do you want to press charges for this violation? Just the warning for now. Understood. Call us immediately if she returns. Saturday was quiet. Sunday was quiet. Monday morning, I met with Thomas again. Signed the trust paperwork. Everything I owned, the house, the savings, the investments, all transferred into an irrevocable trust. Daniel was removed as beneficiary. The money would go to charity when I died. Medical expenses would be paid from the trust, but no person could access it. Not Daniel, not Rachel, not anyone looking to have me declared incompetent so they could raid my accounts. This is ironclad, Thomas said. Even if someone got a court to declare you incompetent, they couldn't touch these assets. The trust is managed by a corporate trustee. No family involvement allowed. What about while I'm alive? You maintain complete control. You're the trustee. You can spend it however you want, but no one can take it from you, not legally. Tuesday afternoon, Daniel texted from a different number. Dad, this is insane. You got a restraining order against Rachel? You're cutting me out of the will over a misunderstanding? I replied, it wasn't a misunderstanding. It was fraud. She was trying to help you by forging my signature and stealing my property. You're being dramatic. We made a mistake. We're sorry, but this is too much. You stood in my driveway and lied to my face. You told the police I'd authorized the sale. You backed up your wife's gaslighting. You chose her over me. She's my wife. What was I supposed to do? Tell the truth. The dots appeared. Stayed for 2 minutes. Then disappeared. No response came. Wednesday morning, I received a call from an unknown number. I answered. Mr. Sullivan, this is Margaret Foster from Adult Protective Services. We received a report of concern about your welfare. Ice spread through my chest. From whom? I can't disclose that, but the report alleges that you're experiencing memory issues, confusion, possible self-neglect. I'm required to investigate. When? I can come by this afternoon. 2 o'clock. Would that work? Fine. I called Thomas immediately. APS is coming to investigate me. Rachel must have filed a report. Do you want me there? Yes. Thomas arrived at 1:30. We sat at the kitchen table, went over my documentation, the cognitive evaluation, the evidence of forgery, the timeline of events. Margaret Foster arrived at 2 o'clock exactly. Middle-aged, professional, carrying a clipboard. Mr. Sullivan, I'm here to do a welfare check. Some questions about your living situation, your health, your ability to manage your affairs. Before we start, Thomas said, I'm Mr. Sullivan's attorney. I'm here to observe and provide documentation relevant to your investigation. Margaret looked surprised, but nodded. That's fine. She asked questions about my daily routine, my health, my medications, whether I was eating properly, whether I could manage my finances, whether I felt safe. I answered everything, calmly, directly. Then Thomas handed her the documentation, the cognitive evaluation, the police report about the forged estate sale, Gordon Mitchell's witness statement, the restraining order paperwork. Margaret read through it all. Her expression changed, professional neutrality shifting to understanding. Mr. Sullivan, it appears the report we received was inaccurate. You're clearly competent. Your home is well maintained. You're managing your affairs appropriately. She paused. It also appears that the person who filed this report may have ulterior motives. My daughter-in-law. She's retaliating because I filed a restraining order after she attempted to steal from me. I see that. Mr. Sullivan, I'm going to close this case as unfounded. You're clearly not in need of protective services. I'll note in my report that this appears to be a false report filed in bad faith. She handed me a business card. If you receive any further harassment, contact me. False APS reports are taken seriously. It wastes our resources and can result in legal consequences for the reporter. She left. Thomas left. I sat in my quiet house. They'd tried to have me investigated by Adult Protective Services, tried to create an official record that I was incompetent. Failed. My phone rang. Unknown number again. I didn't answer. A voicemail appeared. I listened. Rachel's voice. Shaking. Angry. You got me investigated for filing a welfare concern? APS called me back. Said I filed a false report. Said there could be consequences. This is harassment, Dad. You're the one who needs help. You're clearly unstable. We were trying to protect you, and you've turned this into some kind of war. I deleted the voicemail. Saved it first. Thomas had said to document everything. Thursday was quiet. Friday was quiet. Saturday morning, someone knocked on my door. I checked the window. Daniel, alone. I opened the door. Didn't invite him in. Dad, can we talk? About what? About fixing this. About moving forward. He looked tired. Older than 42. This has gotten out of hand. You let your wife forge my signature and steal from me. Then you lied to cover it up. Then she filed a false APS report trying to have me declared incompetent. What exactly has gotten out of hand? She made mistakes. We both did. But you're my father. This is family. Family doesn't steal from each other. She wasn't stealing. She genuinely thought she was helping. By inventing conversations that never happened? By forging my signature? That's not help, Daniel. That's fraud. She panicked. She thought you were declining. That you needed intervention. Declining from what? I'm 73 years old. I'm healthy. I'm sharp. I manage my own affairs just fine. Your wife decided I was incompetent because it suited her purposes. What purposes? What would she gain from this? I stared at my son. Are you seriously asking me that? He didn't answer. $67,400, Daniel. That's what I've given you in the last 6 years. Loans, transfers, help with emergencies that were never paid back, not to mention the down payment on your house, the wedding, the business loans. I've been financing your life for a decade. We never asked. You asked all the time, every month, just until we get caught up, just this once. Emergency. Rachel's exact words every time she texted asking for money. We were going to pay you back. When? You haven't made a single payment on any of it, not $1 for 6 years. Daniel's jaw tightened. We've been struggling. You know that. Everyone struggles. Not everyone forges their father's signature and tries to liquidate his belongings. That's not what happened. That's exactly what happened. You stood in this driveway and lied to a police officer. You told him I'd authorized the sale. You backed up Rachel's story, even though you knew it was false. Silence. Why? I asked. Why did you do that? Because she's my wife. Because we needed... He stopped. Needed what? Nothing. Forget it. Needed money. That's what you were going to say. You needed money. So you decided to liquidate my assets and call it helping me downsize. Dad, how much were you hoping to make? From the sale? 10,000? 20? Was there a number in mind when you planned this? Daniel's face flushed. It wasn't like that. Then what was it like? You're sitting on all this stuff, valuable stuff, and you're not using it. It's just sitting here while you rattle around in this house alone. You thought you'd help yourselves to it, since I wasn't using it. That's not fair. What's not fair is stealing from your father and calling it concern. Daniel's hands curled into fists. Not threatening, just frustration. I didn't come here to fight. Then why did you come? To see if we could fix this, to see if you'd drop the restraining order, if we could go back to normal. Normal? Daniel, there's no going back. You've showed me who you are, who Rachel is, what you're capable of. So that's it? You're just cutting us off? Your only son? You cut yourself off when you chose to steal from me. We weren't stealing. Stop. My voice came out harder than I intended. Stop lying. Stop rewriting what happened. I know what you did. The police know what you did. The estate sale company knows what you did. Gordon Mitchell will testify under oath about what you did. You forged my signature. You fabricated authorization. You attempted to liquidate my property. Those are facts. Stop pretending there's something else. Daniel stared at me. You've really changed. No, I just stopped pretending your behavior was acceptable. Mom would be ashamed of you. The words hit like a slap. Deliberate, calculated, using Linda against me. Your mother would be ashamed that you stole from your father, that you lied, that you let your wife file a false APS report to cover your tracks. My voice stayed level. Barely. She would be ashamed that you're standing here trying to manipulate me instead of apologizing. I did apologize. No. You said Rachel made mistakes. That's not an apology. That's deflection. Fine. I'm sorry. I'm sorry we tried to help you in a way you didn't appreciate. Still not an apology. That's a non-apology. Try again. Daniel's face went red. You know what? Forget it. I tried. I came here to make peace, and you're being impossible. I'm being clear. There's a difference. You're going to regret this. When you're old and sick and alone, don't come crying to us. I'm already old, and I'd rather be alone than surrounded by people who steal from me. Daniel turned, walked down the driveway, got in his truck, drove away. I stood on my porch, watching his taillights disappear. My only son, Linda's baby, the boy I'd raised, taught to throw a baseball, helped with homework, paid for his wedding. Gone. The house was quiet when I went back inside. I sat at the kitchen table, Linda's jewelry box on the counter where it belonged, the clock ticking on the wall, everything back in its place, except my son. I thought about calling him, telling him to come back, that we could work this out. Then I thought about the forged signature, the fake estate sale, the APS report, the threats about incompetency. I didn't call. The restraining order hearing happened 2 weeks later. Rachel and Daniel showed up with a lawyer. Young guy. Expensive suit. Thomas presented our evidence. The forged contract. Gordon Mitchell's testimony. The APS report and its findings. The documented pattern of financial exploitation. Their lawyer argued it was a misunderstanding. That Rachel had genuinely believed I'd authorized the sale. That the signature was close enough to mine that she'd assumed it was legitimate. That she'd filed the APS report out of genuine concern. The judge wasn't buying it. Ms. Sullivan, you forged Mr. Sullivan's signature on a legal contract. That's fraud. You then proceeded with an estate sale he didn't authorize. That's theft. When he reported it, you filed a false APS report in retaliation. That's harassment and abuse of the system. She looked at Rachel over her reading glasses. The restraining order is granted. Permanent. You are to have no contact with Mr. Sullivan. No phone calls, no emails, no texts, no visits to his property, no third-party contact. Do you understand? Your Honor, he's my father-in-law. We're family. You should have thought about that before you committed fraud against him. Restraining order granted. Court is adjourned. The gavel came down. Rachel's face went white. Daniel stared at the floor. They left without looking at me. Thomas and I walked out together. That's as good as it gets, David. Permanent restraining order. Documentation of the fraud. If they violate it, they'll face criminal charges. What about the money? The $67,400? You can sue for it. But honestly, it'll cost you legal fees and years of your life. They probably don't have it anyway. My advice? Let it go. You've protected yourself going forward. That's what matters. He was right. I knew he was right. But $67,400 was still $67,400. I went home, sat in my quiet house. Linda's jewelry box on the counter, the clock ticking, my father's pocket watch in the drawer. Safe. All of it safe. My phone rang that night, unknown number. I didn't answer. A voicemail appeared. Daniel's voice. Dad, you really did it. You got a permanent restraining order against your own family. His voice cracked. I don't know who you are anymore. Mom would be so disappointed. He hung up. I sat there, phone in my hand, listening to silence. Linda's voice in my head. What she would have said, what she would have wanted. I thought about that for a long time. Then I deleted the voicemail. Saved it first. Documentation. 3 months passed. Quiet. No contact from Daniel or Rachel. The house settled into new rhythms. Mornings alone, evenings alone. The oak tree in the backyard losing its leaves. Winter coming. My neighbor Helen stopped by one afternoon. Brought cookies. Sat at my kitchen table. David, I don't mean to pry, but I noticed Daniel hasn't been around. Is everything okay? No, but it will be. She nodded. Didn't push. Just sat with me while we drank coffee and ate cookies. If you need anything, she said when she left, I'm right next door. Thank you, Helen. Small kindnesses. From neighbors, from the postal worker who made sure I got my mail, from the kid who shoveled my driveway without being asked, from strangers who were kinder than my own son. Christmas came. Quiet. I put up the tree Linda and I had bought in 1985. Hung the ornaments. Sat in the living room watching lights blink. No call from Daniel. No card. Nothing. I didn't call him either. January, February, March, spring coming. The oak tree in the backyard budding, grass turning green. My phone rang one morning. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer. But something made me. Dad? Daniel's voice. Quiet. Rough. What do you want? I wanted to hear your voice. Silence. I'm sorry, he said. For all of it. For what Rachel did. For what I let happen. For choosing her over you. I didn't respond. She left me, he said. 2 months ago. Took everything. Emptied the bank accounts. Filed for divorce. She's with someone else now. Some guy from her gym. I'm sorry to hear that. Are you? You're my son. I don't like seeing you hurt. But you're not surprised. No. More silence. I was an idiot, Daniel said. I believed her. About everything. About you needing help. About it being for your own good. I thought she loved me. That we were building something together. What do you want from me, Daniel? I don't know. Forgiveness, maybe. A chance to fix this. The restraining order is permanent. You can't contact me. You answered the phone. This time. Will you answer next time? I thought about that. About Linda. About the boy Daniel had been. About the man he'd become. About the choice he'd made standing in my driveway. I don't know, I said honestly. That's fair. His voice broke. I miss you, Dad. I miss the son I used to have. I hung up, sat at my kitchen table, coffee growing cold, clock ticking. My phone didn't ring again. If you like this story, please like it, subscribe to the channel, and share your impressions in the comments. To listen to more stories, click on the window on the right. Thank you for being with us.